Currently, there is a trend in cryptocurrency that has everyone wondering if we will ever see the entire season. Has the market peaked? Will the market turn bearish? Could this be the beginning of something far more serious? What's going on? And I understand now, don't I? I understand. We are in deep red when we check the market on a weekly basis. The world is a sea of red. Additionally, if we look at this on a monthly basis, the majority of the gains are still coming from a small number of people. Even on the monthly view, there is still a lot of agony because many old coins have dropped considerably. On average, XRP is down 5%, and HBAR is down more than 11% in a single month. Additionally, we're witnessing a general decline of more than 10%. As we consider this, everyone is curious about what is happening at the moment. Has this market reached its peak? Are we starting to see signs of a bear market? Now, let's take a brief glance at the market. $109.5 thousand for Bitcoin and $4,000 for Ethereum, about 80 cents and $2 in XRP. Considering this on a weekly basis, Bitcoin is down roughly 5.3%, Ethereum is down roughly 10.4%. We like to see that XRP is holding up a little better than Ethereum, as evidenced by its 6.3% decline. Beyond that though, the market is undoubtedly going through a major upheaval. For example, if we are considering this for a month, we're still above those August lows, and this is a big sell-off. Therefore, I do not believe that we should be in any kind of panic at this time. This seems like a typical correction. I don't believe that the bear market or something similar is just getting started. This price behavior is quite typical. Beyond that though, the fear and greed index is the primary indicator I'm watching in relation to this sell-off, as the fear levels are now approaching that extreme amount of terror, which is precisely what we're searching for. If we look at this from a market perspective, we want to see that extreme level of fear targeted, because from a market perspective, are we trading at greed levels, or are we still in that neutral area where no one believes that this market is scary just yet and that everything will be okay? No, we're interested in seeing how scared people are, wish to witness panic in others. People suggesting that antique coins won't bounce is what we want to see. We are unable to escape this situation. As a result, we are currently approaching the retail capitulation point. Correct, and we usually move all the way back here to March or April, which is the cycle's low, when we have retail capitulation. Now, this essentially bottomed for the local bottom this time around, or perhaps I should say for the cycle. This proved that we're still searching for that bottom signal this time. At the moment, the old coin market should be the main focus. In particular, when we look at ancient coins, most of them are in the oversold area, which would also be consistent with the terror levels reaching about 30. Once more, this indicates that the market remains in that area of capitulation. You mean even with regard to XRP? We have been keeping an eye on XRP. We have been examining XRP. We're not exactly at very oversold levels right now on the daily. For example, let's go all the way back to April. We hit roughly 31 in April, for example. We are currently trading at about 41, which indicates that there may still be some lower price movement. At this point, I don't think we're going to go all the way to the bottom and go for the $2.30 to $2.60 level. I'm not anticipating that, but it's certainly possible. However, the majority of these older coins are lagging about the lower tier level on RSI, indicating that, as you can see, the most of these charts are significantly sold off. Well, since July onwards, the majority of this market has been selling off. This is exemplified by XRP, which is why capitulation is occurring, and many individuals are being shook out. As we've seen with price action, we don't always need negative price movement to capitulate investors. Another significant issue is time capitulation. Since XRP's official local top here, the market has been selling off generally. We have been selling off for roughly 72 days, and during that period it has been difficult to participate in the market since, in addition to the time frame capitulation, we have also been witnessing price action capitulation. The main query though is whether we are in that normal 4-year cycle. This 4-year cycle has been the subject of several inquiries, and whether everything is completely changed. There are undoubtedly many things that have changed. Listen, I believe that the 4-year cycle is still in effect. Raoul made a really intriguing comment, so I'm going to play a video of him. Our fee believes that we are no longer in a 4-year cycle. The most important question to consider regarding the 4-year cycle of cryptocurrency is what this is founded on. However, if we look at the yearly fluctuations in global liquidity, we can observe that, similar to 2020, we began to see more liquidity in 2025. As we get into 2021, we will see the old season. At that point, we saw the cycle's largest wave. Thus, everyone believes that 2026 will bring about something quite similar to 2021. I don't think so, because once more from about 2023, we have been seeing this market move upward. Thus, it has been nearly 2 years since we started pumping. Of course, we weren't the only ones going completely wild throughout those 2 years. We still have a lot of charts that need to go into price discovery, and we still need to shatter all-time highs. We're still tracking the liquidity cycle, even if Bitcoin is currently the primary one that has experienced this. And to give you all a somewhat better view, allow me to zoom in. This is now mapping out the liquidity cycle for the future. If we take a rational approach to this, we should anticipate a peak in liquidity in the first quarter of 2026. This supports my theory that, like in 2017, we will probably see a peak toward the end of the year and the start of 2026. What do you think? Since we pumped toward the end of the year in 2017, January and February of 2018 were essentially the peak months for old coins. Around January 2018, XRP peaked. In addition, it is true that we did surrender in September 2017. Therefore, this would be ideal for us after that 4-year cycle in 2017 and 2018. The key point here is that many people are referring to a 5-year cycle. I won't tell lies. The crypto world has evolved a lot, indeed. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first I'd want to show the video clip, because according to Raoul, the Bitcoin cycle has changed to a 5-year cycle, peaking in 2026. According to Raoul, the conventional 4-year Bitcoin cycle has now grown into a 5-year one. According to his prediction, Bitcoin will most certainly reach its high in 2026, most likely in the second quarter, which might cause a change in the way market participants see long-term Bitcoin patterns. After you pay close attention, I'll share my thoughts with you all. Why has Bitcoin not taken off like a rocket yet? And this chart is it. This is essentially a detrended Bitcoin that is essentially the business cycle, or ISM. Recall that we've always claimed that the business cycle is the foolish one. The business cycle is always foolish. Furthermore, those who assert that the 4-year cycle is based on this, and that are ignorant of the basic nature of the economic cycle, and the reasons behind its 4-year cycle. We've also explained it. Tomorrow we'll go over it in great depth in our presentation on everything code, but in essence it adheres to the ISM, and rates have been exhibiting a similar trend. As you can see, charges ought to have decreased. We must roll over the debt, thus they must drop. We have discussed this. That is a fundamental component of the everything code. Additionally, ISM's extremely high rates have caused Main Street to suffer while Wall Street has profited from devaluation. Profits as opposed to limited resources. They must find a solution to this problem and reduce the rates. Why does that result in reduced rates? Why does our extended business cycle appear to be unlike any other period of time? The reason for this is that in 2021, 2022, the debt's maturity was actually extended from 4 to 5 years, something I only recently discovered while repeating the work on the entire code. Thus, the economic cycle has been delayed by a year, due to the extension of the debt's maturity. This time, the 4-year cycle is actually a 5-year cycle. Until we see where they all end up getting refinanced, we won't know what the next one will be. We don't yet know if they shorten it, since everything is in the short term, or if it comes down to 4, because they were able to get some stuff in the end. However, this cycle lasts for 5 years, and this is how it seems. 5.4 years is the precise average weighted maturity of the loan, and the sine curve is 5.4 years. It also indicates that the ISM should reach its peak by 2026. As the rates of change of both liquidity and ISM fluctuate,